Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Here in Western Australia, it's actually 9:05 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Please feel free to let me know where you're from. I always like knowing who the people are that I'm speaking to, and I'd love it even more if you engaged with me and had a chat with me. But bottom line is, right now today, I'm going to welcome you to the channel, or a welcome back to the people that are returning visitors, and thank you very much for joining me. Today, I'm going to try and keep it brief, but we know if you're a returning visitor, I do go down that rabbit warren. Sometimes I get myself distracted. So if you're new to the channel, I do a transcript, okay, which is there to prompt me on subject matter. But quite often I find that as I'm doing the recordings, that something comes to mind and I deviate and I go down a pathway. Now, I recognize and respect the fact that everybody's time is valuable. So what I do to assist you with this is I actually will put timing chapters in the description so you can jump from one spot to the next and find the areas of interest for yourself. And when it comes to, I do it for all of my videos, okay? And so that way, if there's something that you're interested in a later date, you can just go to the channel and to the playlist and put in the keyword and search to find the information that you're interested in. So without further ado, let me give you an update. So as stated last week, I actually delivered the first community social event, the free event. I had done that not last week, the week before, but I actually am now going to be keeping this up because there's a lot of things under consideration at the moment. The first one is that I have also advertised the second one, which is for April the 9th on Eventbrite. So you can come and join me. And the other thing is I need to offer some clarification about my events because I've had some interesting feedback. But before I do that, when we talk about community events, there is another one happening. So if you're subscribed to the channel, or even if you're a visitor to the channel, you'll know that I've been delivering, or you may as well say cards, free readings up at Joondalup, I think it is, with Anah. Now, it's going to be no surprise to some people, but and I might be jumping the gun a little bit for Anah, but I don't think too many people that go to her group are actually going to be watching this video. But if you are, next week, next Wednesday, is going to be the last one that she delivers here in Perth. And that is because of a couple of reasons. I'm not going to break all of her news for you. You can come along or you can watch the video next week. But what I can say is that the premises is going. So next Wednesday is the last one at that venue that is hosted by Anah. Now, I've been asked to come along and to bring along some crystal product to show you because, as you're aware, I've been buying a lot of it. So I will be doing up a box and I'll have some information there for you, but I won't probably have time to give a lot of input, I guess, to the crystal information. So I'll be reliant on the little information cards that I put together for that. Because when I go to Alana's groups, my focus is on delivering readings. But what I'll be doing this week is I'm actually taking along a timer because and setting them for 15 minutes because, as you're aware, if you go along to these meetings, the group sessions or whatever, quite often I get waylaid by people who expect or would like to have a full reading or more detail, and that means some people miss out. So if I use my timer, I might be able to give, we've got 2 hours, so maybe I'll be able to give about 6 people a bit of insight using my tarot at these events. Now, just to be clear, when I'm in a group setting like that as well, I don't open up fully to my psychic gifts. I rely purely on my tarot cards and my guides to convey information to the person, but I don't open up to see and communicate with spirit in these instances. But before, let's move on to my next event, what the feedback was. We wanted more. We expected more. We thought you were going to teach us how to read tarot. This was actually the theme of the conversation that I had with this person. So in answer to these, statements of desire and expectation, my response was, the event was advertised as a social connection to connect with other people of like minds who are into things like tarot and crystals as part of us grouping together outside of the computer. A lot of us do all this meeting and getting together based on the computer. so it was about a community activity. So I also, I didn't mention until afterwards, so I think I need to mention it here. Actually, let me put this into perspective. I didn't say this to her. I might have alluded to it, but I'm going to outline it very clearly. Excuse me while I have a cough, if I can do it. Sometimes technology is a challenge for me. Anyway, I'm going to outline it very clearly here. When you come to these gatherings, don't expect me to teach you how to read tarot, or actually give you more than what I'm promoting and advertising, which in this instance is a social connection. It was to establish need was part of it. I did get a lot of questions about, will I be running meditation nights? Well, I'm going to aim to do that. That's going to be on the radar. But the thing is, I can't give everything away for free. So the reality is, I actually believe that these kind of expectations are a little unreasonable. To expect me to teach people how to do tarot readings in 2 hours where I'm already paying for the room. So let's break this down. I am a teacher. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is responsibility. If we're going to teach people how to access their gifts and use them, there is such a thing as karma, and I choose not to create negative karma for myself. So when I deliver any workshops or anything like that, I do it with great responsibility, great consideration, and I put a lot of effort into them. So there is no way known that I'm going to be able to teach random people off the street in 2 hours how to do tarot. I would run tarot workshops. In the past, I've done them. They cover about 12 hours, and I usually do it over 2 days, and people pay for it. If you want me to teach you how to do tarot, and I have taught many people how to do it, then let me know. Put your name down on a wait list, and I'll notify you when I'm going to run the next one. But you really must be aware, I charge for those. And my charges are not just about the fact that I want to be paid for my time, but I put time and effort into creating the materials for these workshops. I have to hire a venue, you know what I mean? Usually, and as with the other night, I bought coffee, I bought coffee cups. There was actually a really large outlay from me personally and financially to run the social event, because I know that I'm going to be running it more than once. So that's the agenda there. So just putting this into perspective, okay, the costs incurred to me for that 1 2-hour community event was, I printed off information cards, I had to buy a laminator, I had to buy the, the guillotine, the paper cutter, I bought supplies, I went out, bought more tarot and oracle decks, I bought crystals as well, all of this kind of stuff, as well as the coffee cups, the trays, the kettle. I even bought, one of those things, I can't remember, that you play music out of, the little round things. I bought one of them, and I also bought a essential oil vaporizer and some essential oils as well. So there was a lot of investment, I'm going to say, with this to create a nice environment for people. So in many ways, I think it's a little bit rude to turn around and go, but I wanted more. I wanted you to give me your professional experience, because at the end of the day, remember, I do professional services. I wanted you to give me a professional and free service. I think not, okay? You want my professional services, then you pay for them. That's the bottom line. We've all got to survive. What else can I say? It didn't escape my attention that in the same conversation the lady shared with me that she has paid other people a lot of money to get certificates, perhaps with energy work or psychic development or whatever, because there's a lot of exploitation of people out there that are doing this kind of thing. And it took me a lot to put this into perspective, okay, is I have been consciously delivering services for now 25 years. For probably 10 of those years, I didn't charge for my services. It took a long time for me to make the decision to start charging people. And I had to convert my thought process as to how I did this. Now, a lot of my lessons I learned the hard way as well, because you can go to course after course, you can buy book after book and all the rest of it. But the only way to really connect with the wisdom inside, shall we say, is actually through creating the space, the meditation, the quiet time to fine-tune the processes. And if you're not prepared to put that time in yourself, and you want to try and shortcut things by coming to me for services, for example, or going out to a heap of other people, then the fact of the matter is we put that time in. And for people's information here, back, I think it was 2004 through to about 2009, I withdrew socially from people, and I decided, if you like, in a way, I did my own apprenticeship. I devoted years of meditation, reflection, studying, researching for myself, asking questions, and prompting my own growth. And this is the beauty of being in remote areas. So, for instance, I didn't know about animal totems until I started having them in my dreams. So then I had to, so this is where the research came in. When I was getting my recurring dreams, which are messages from spirit, then I would go and look at what does that mean. I learned about the celestial alphabet because I saw it in dream states. You know, all of these kind of things. And then I had to find conscious meaning of what it was that I was seeing in my dreams. So anyway, to put this into perspective, I'm going to come back to it. Whatever I'm delivering, I'm going to have that on my advertisement. If I'm up there promoting a social connection event, that's what I'm promoting. So don't come along, please, expecting me to give you my professional stuff. If I start doing the meditation nights, which is on the radar, it will probably have a door fee. I'm not going to charge hugely exorbitant rates for this. I mean, I see that some people will charge 50 Australian dollars. That's not the case. I just want to cover my costs. When I go along to these group activities, I just would like to, I guess, walk away and feel that at least the venue costs are taken care of for the meditation night. If I do a healing night, which that's on the radar as well, then it would be the same thing. It's going to be a door fee, but it's not going to be exorbitant charges, okay? Because I am personally, ethically about empowering people and helping them to be the best. I'm not even going to say the best version of themselves, basically to fine-tune their connection to their own guides, because we all have to find our own way, and that includes the way that we communicate. So my aim is to get you to go to your own inner source, if that makes sense. So let's step on now, because another question arose this week, and it was to do with Ascension. Now, I'm reminded to discuss Ascension as a tip because I created the Turquoise video. Oh, sorry, not the Turquoise one, the Hypersthene video. We refer to the Ascension Process, and that's apparently one of the attributes of Hypersthene. So just to clarify, when we talk about ascension in the spiritual sense, we're not talking about climbing to the top of the mountain where we can actually look down at everybody beneath us, you know, feeling superior and watching those at the base of the mountain or those walking up the hill, okay? We're actually talking about something different. Now, before I talk about that, though, I just want to remind you that when we do psychic and energy work, what we're doing is we are speeding up our vibrational process. We are ascending, if you like. There's an ascension process involved, even though we've got physical bodies in front of you. There becomes this ascension to do the service work, but then we have to ground afterwards. We have to reconnect, which becomes, I guess, a descent if we were looking at different words. We have to come back to a more realistic space. But anyway, ascension. Now, of course, this is my understanding, and you may have a different way of explaining it or a different approach to it. And this is the beauty. This is where I talk about personalization of gifts. And this is where I would love for you to make a comment to say what you feel or think or believe. So my understanding is that when we're talking about ascension, we're talking about light. To put this into perspective, this is about the fact that we as humans that are walking the path, you'll have seen the photographs of the aura and the etheric layers of the body and all of that kind of stuff. Well, each layer is lighter and lighter, okay? Our physical form is the lowest vibration of our light body. En masse, it's called a light body. That's the aura, all right? Now, the light body as with the physical body, is made up of particles. In the physical body, we call them cells, which is the blood cells, the white cells, the DNA strands, etc., etc. None of these can be seen with the naked eye, and the light body is made up of moving particles. I think some people call them cellular. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But either way, these particles can move fast or slow. So that's what I was talking about with the other image. The reason... okay, when these particles are moving slowly or slowed down, then less light can get into the aura, and we also become heavier, okay? And the heavier, and I'm using quotation marks here, the heavier the light body in quotation marks, the more bogged down by our earthly challenges we become. So the idea is that we retain this balance between lightness and darkness, if you like. What have I got here? Okay, the lighter our aura, as in the faster it's vibrating, the more we ascend upwardsly with this light vibration, speeding up the particles, the easier it is to connect with the higher and the spiritual realms. But to put this into perspective, okay, the light, they're called light beings, actually is another word. Some people call them angels, some people call them spirits, some people say they've got light bodies or whatever. Excuse me, I need to cough again. These light bodies anyway, so I'll call them angels here, put your own word in, okay? Their light body vibrates much, much faster than us. So even if we in an earth body can speed up our own light bodies, because that's part of who we are, they still have to decrease the speed of theirs. They have to slow it down so that they can connect with us, because we actually, while we've got human bodies, my understanding is that, we'd be fried really if we had the amount of light that they carry in their auras. So I hope with this that I have explained the process of ascension in a way that you understand. So ascension is the process of raising your light vibration. Now, if you're one of the people that thinks ascension is about death, well, it can be. And I'm talking death of the physical body, okay? It can be, because when the physical body drops that heavy physical shell, their inner light body remains. And of course, that light body starts to speed up through the process of death and dying, and once the body has been shed. Now, these are my understandings. Again, this is what many Christians would call the soul. Now, because I was raised as a Catholic, I'm aware they talk about purgatory. They may not articulate purgatory as I have become to understand it, right? I call purgatory, in my understanding now, the limbo land, before the soul has gone through the big white light. It's kind of frightened because it feels that it's unworthy or whatever, so it becomes a bit stuck. And I'm not going to pass judgment on whether or not the soul is or isn't, but that's how I explain it. So once the body is gone, the soul will continue to expand and grow and vibrate at lighter and higher levels. And in fact, my understanding is I don't think we ever stop growing and speeding up our light bodies once we don't have a body, okay? But that's a conversation for another day. So another topic that came up, or a concept for discussion in one of the other videos I was making, was the concept of embracing the shadow. And this is why I'm going to touch on this today. I'm going to try and keep it brief, of course. When we talk about the shadow self, these are the aspects of ourselves that generally we don't like, we repress. Sometimes we're not even consciously aware of some of the stuff that's in the shadow, and this is why we talk about raising our consciousness and our awareness to be able to recognize and see these attributes of ourselves, and they're not always attractive, okay? And so when we take this long, hard look at ourselves, we see us in ourselves in our fullness, and we think quite often, as we begin this process of ascension, that they're not aspects that I like. I'm going to ignore that. I can see, I'm giving you some examples here of stuff that I've come across either with myself or with other people. I see where I was mean. I see where perhaps I could have done better. I can see where I've had an element of jealousy. These are the unattractive human traits. Or I can see here where perhaps I was emotionally reactive because I was very angry at the time. My feelings were hurt. I was insecure. And you realize that these become core personality traits, if you like. Now, in the first stages, awareness and recognition is a really good thing, because if we become aware of it, we can actually then send healing light into it and basically stop these traits. Okay, but what tends to happen is, in the first instance, we try and regulate the negative traits, okay? And when we're trying to regulate these emotional reactions, if I can speak, reactions, we tend to suppress these behaviors and push them down. We might isolate, we might, there's any number of means that we will actually cope with these emotional reactions that we have. We might lash out at other people, but the point is, we have to get to that point where we accept that those traits, because these are the ones that we're pushing down into the shadow side of self, we have to get to that point that actually those traits aren't ugly. We are beautiful, each one of us. We're just beautiful in different ways. And the way we get to that is by recognizing not so much that these traits are good or bad, but by releasing judgment, accepting that, you know what, those traits developed because of specific circumstances in our life. So let's say that jealousy is a core issue. Okay, the way we work through that as a tip would be basically, okay, I was jealous of the attention that person was receiving, or I was jealous that they are financially better off than what I am. These kind of things. You look at what is it that you were jealous for? What was it you wanted to see or hoped for that you didn't get? And then you can look at, well, why did I develop those traits? It might be that when you were growing up, you grew up in absolute poverty, which is why you now covet other people's material possessions, shall we say, or what there appears to be an abundant, privileged lifestyle. That could be part of it. Then the other aspect could be if we're jealous of the attention another person receives, whether it's our sibling or whatever, well, then that's because we were denied that, obviously, as a child. But you get to that point where you go, you know what? It is what it is. If it's in the past, we can't change it. We can't change the past. Let me put this into perspective. Once the past has occurred, it's happened. Some people can minimize the past. I'm now going down that rabbit warren. My mother's got an amazing saying for, oh, well, yesterday's a bucket of ashes, move on. Well, it's not a matter of going, yesterday's a bucket of ashes and we'll just sweep that stuff under the carpet and pretend it never happened. There becomes this acknowledgement. If you've got an opportunity to make good and apologize to a person, that's all part of the healing process as well. But when we repress these emotions and feelings, what happens is, it's kind of, that becomes a Pandora's box, okay? Because you can repress and repress and repress, but then something will happen and just goes bang and it all explodes. So the idea is to recognize that these behaviors are no longer required in the current existence, that they're actually destructive and harmful and a form of self-sabotage. So we embrace the shadow, as in we love it, okay? We remove judgment on ourselves and others, and we just go, it is what it is. I love you. It's okay. You don't need to do these kind of things anymore. You can now consciously choose loving behaviors, and that's part of it. You might have a better way of describing it, and I welcome your input with this as well. So I had another instance this week as well, and this wasn't with a person directly. This was an online interaction where I had suggested that forgiveness might be in order, and the person just reacted terribly at me, telling me that, if we promote forgiveness of people that do wrong things or bad things, then that means that we're excusing and justifying their terrible actions, and basically told me I needed therapy. Now, you might not be able to tell, but I'm actually having an inner chuckle about this, because I did actually laugh. And as I was typing this transcript up, I actually laughed when I was typing this, because I don't take offense at this. Okay, I understand that this is this person's reaction. And this actually aligns with the shadow stuff as well. So, anyway, let me explain forgiveness from my perspective, because it relates to ascension as well. When we hold on to unforgiveness is actually the anger. It becomes toxic emotionally, and it keeps the aura's vibration low. Okay, and so we want to be able to raise our vibration, and forgiveness is part of that. But the other thing to understand is that anger, resentment, and unforgiveness are a waste of time anyway. Okay, that's the bottom line. They are an absolute waste of time, because if it relates to people, and we're angry at them and we're not forgiving them, they usually don't care, right? They just don't care. So it doesn't matter if you're angry, forgiving, unforgiving, or whatever. These people are caught up in their own lives, and they're actually indifferent to, even if you were indifferent to them, it's not going to impact on them one iota. So forgiveness is about you and helping you. Or, if I hold forgiveness, it's, ultimately self-love, to be forgiving to other people. And these hard feelings that we carry on, I'm sorry, I had to have another cough there. These hard feelings that we store in our aura, they permeate it, and they can potentially be destructive to all of the other relationships that we have, because we haven't managed to address that anger. And so it's going to come out, like I said, with this Pandora's box, where we're repressing. So there is a saying that I find to be very accurate, which is, you don't forgive people because they deserve forgiveness. You do it because you deserve forgiveness. Okay, you deserve to live a life of peace and joy, and having loving people around you that accept you. And while you hold on to resentment and anger, we actually hold the good people at bay, because it becomes too much hard work for them to have to be around angry, even hateful people. Okay, it becomes very draining. So there is a saying as well, I first heard about it years ago, that holding on to anger is like swallowing rat poison and expecting the rats to die. You're just slowly killing yourself. But this is, to put this into perspective as well, is we know the links evidentially. So this is the Bachelor of Social Work stuff that I bring to the table. We know factually and evidentially that when we hold on to heightened emotions such as anger, stress, anxiety, and all the rest of it, it does impact on the physical health. So this is why I have no discomfort in saying that if you hold on to these hard feelings, you're shaving years off your life, right? But the best quote that I love is that forgiveness does not mean what another person has done to you is okay, right? It doesn't mean that. It just means that you've consciously decided you're not willing to carry anger anymore in your aura, in your sense of being, and you consciously choose to live your life with emotions that support this greater joy, love, and happiness. Now, to some extent, this does require a level of faith and trust in the universal processes. And once again, I'm drawing on my knowledge or understanding, and once again, you are invited. My understanding is that conditions such as PTSD, and in fact, a lot of the trauma type conditions, are about the fact that there has been an injustice or a lack of justice around something that has been very intense for them. So we're talking about a lack of fairness, often a betrayal of trust, and these people feel that the only way they can heal and recover is actually to see justice. Now, this is the difficulty, because to forgive in these circumstances, it means letting go, to some extent detaching from the outcome. So that doesn't mean you give up on your desire for justice. You might want to hire a lawyer, because if you can get justice in this lifetime, that's always very emotionally rewarding. And it's about having others grow as well, but we have to focus on our own health and well-being. But either way, the reason why I say you've got to detach, because from what I've seen in my observations, my experiences, is sometimes even when it goes through the legal system, justice does not prevail, and that can compound feelings of injustice and anger. So there has to be a preparedness, if you like, within ourselves, that we may not get to see justice in this lifetime in our physical body. However, those perpetrators that have done the really horrendous things to us that have caused us this pain, we then have to trust the universal and divine processes that at some point in time they will receive their own personal karma. So anyway, in summary, forgiveness is probably the kindest, most loving thing we can do for ourselves. So now for a channel update, and I'll try and be really quick. Yes, I'm still waiting for some of my crystals to arrive. Goodness knows what's happened to the desert rose. It's gone somewhere, whatever. Anyway, I think it got stuck at customs for a little while, but I'm hoping it's going to be delivered in the next week or so. I've got some lovely lapis from definitely not Afghanistan, Brazilian lapis on its way. Just in case you're not aware, actually, I'm not even going to mention it now. I've got a lapis video I'm in the process of constructing. Okay, what I have done is I've been trialing out my Golden Healer. So if people want feedback on how that worked for me and my experience of it, I wore it for 3 days. I took it off last night because I started to recognize that I was having not sadness. Sadness is a very interesting word to describe, but Golden Healer is literally one of healing any emotional wounds. And so I would say probably I'm going to put on there with my crystal prescriptions, I've already made the Golden Healer video, that Golden Healer is probably really good for past life reviews within this lifetime and actually for ease of transition. And this is because what I found was I can recognize within myself, I saw my grandmother, my children's paternal grandmother, she was given a life review actually through the crystal ball, another story. But I watched her afterwards and she had to go and sit aside. She just went and sat outside quietly for a couple of hours, and I took her a couple of cups of tea. She was 95 at the time. And I could see that she was off processing the information that had come through from spirit, if you like. And so it's a trip down memory lane. So this is what I found with Golden Healer after a couple of days. It was a trip down memory lane, and not all the memories are bad, I've got to say. There is the remembering and the recalling of those things that brought joy, that make you laugh on the inside. And then there is the external aspect of acknowledging the pain of some situations that I've lived through and being able to put them into perspective now across the life path. You understand how it works together and that. And I wouldn't even say flat. It just becomes like a recognition, an acceptance, an awareness, and then a let go would probably be the best way to describe my experiences with Golden Healer after wearing it for 3 days. But either way, I must say I took it off, not just because I sort of thought, I'm losing some of my passion and motivation here. I started to recognize I actually think the crystal needs to be cleansed, and I hadn't taken it off in those 3 days. So what I would say is if you're going to work with Golden Healer, you probably need to clean it daily. And by that, I mean put on your selenite log. So just sharing that information with you. What have I got coming in? Oh, I'm wearing nephrite jade today. I haven't started working on that video yet. That will happen in the near future. So as previously mentioned, Hypersthene was loaded this week. You can access that. It's been published. It's in the Crystal Magic playlist. Turquoise was also published this week, so you can find that one. It was actually, I think it was the Turquoise. Was that the one that was about taking a long, hard look at yourself? I actually can't remember now, but anyway, that one's been published too. Next week, I'm working on this video now. You're going to see the video for Abalone shell, which is also called Paua. Any of the New Zealanders, Kiwis, they call it Paua. I just want to make the point, though, that I actually think that the Paua shell is far more beautiful than the Abalone shell, and I really don't know why. I mean, Abalone shell is absolutely beautiful too, but Paua seems to have more brilliance of colour. Yet, just to put this into perspective, Paua is abalone too. Obviously, it's where it grows and develops. So maybe it's something to do with the water or the mineral content under the ocean, or even the temperature of the ocean that gives Paua this brilliance of the blues. So Aquamarine is also going to be loaded next week. Aquamarine, oh my goodness, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful crystal with some wonderful properties. But I'll leave you to find out about that when it actually gets loaded. So before I close out for the day, just a reminder, we've got a number of playlists on the channel. We've got something for everybody. So what you will get is the mainstream stuff that is based on my studies in social work, my Masters of Counselling, and my training in mental health especially. And it's going to be clearly outlined. Other content such as the chakras, the angels, colour numerology, universal law or spiritual law, and even the crystal magic stuff. Of course, that is about metaphysics and it's not evidence-based. There is nothing to support any of this. So this is why it falls into the category of beliefs. But anyway, this should be something for everybody. So if I'm really quick on this slide with a thank you, we should get this video done under 40 minutes, which is obviously the aim. I'd love to actually make it even shorter. So for now, I would just say, look, I hope that the information, the content that I've provided for you today is valuable, assists you in some way, shape or form. If you've made it to the end of the video, I thank you very much. I'm actually really grateful that Toby, my little puppy, has been well behaved today. He's barely made a peep, which is great news. But anyway, I'm going to say, look, have a wonderful day, blessed week. Catch you on the next video, I hope. Take care. Love you, leave you. Bye-bye for now.